Now in this demo, I want to continue the data process flow of the demo I have been building. Recall that in the demo, I have a customer-based object right here at the bottom, a customer-based object, and an address. I have defined those. And the based objects are entities, but they're also much more complex. So that part is done. So let me put a check mark there. Then we created the landing tables. The question you should ask yourself is, how many landing tables do I need? We know that we have a CRM source system already defined that we added, and we have a sales. So that, along with the lecture, should coach you into figure out how many landing tables you want. For example, customers, they're in both, in the CRM and sales. So I should have a landing table for customer from the CRM and a landing table for customer from sales. And then we have the same question for address. So that part, the landing, is pretty much done, as well as the based objects. I'm missing a few details, the relationships, and completing a few more tables. But now I want to focus on the staging process. Remember what the staging process is. It turns out that it will be the table that at execution will take data from the landing and at execution time standardize it, cleanse it, in other words, modify the original raw data that's in the landing and put it into the stage tables. So that's what we're going to deal with now. And I'll have more to say on this. So let me go to the hub, minimize that, and let me go to the hub. And so where are we? We have the address customer-based objects, and we have the landing tables. I have to finish the landing tables, but I don't want to waste your time having me build them all. I'd rather show them to you. But I can go ahead and configure the staging tables for customer and address. Remember our sources? We have CRM and sales. So think about the data. Remember, I keep emphasizing the data analysis. We know that CRM is coming from six tables in the Oracle database, and sales is coming from the invoice. You've got to know what fields are being brought in from that. What kind of data? Is the full name being brought from both, or first name, last name? We need that information as we now begin our staging tables. Now let me quickly go to the schema viewer. Notice we're pretty much done with the ER. I'm missing relationships and a few other technicalities, but there it is, customer address. Maybe I have some mistakes. Maybe there's some mistakes in the columns, but again, I don't think so. I think this is pretty good. I'm almost done with that. So let's go quickly add the staging tables for customer. Point number one, a staging table is an attribute of a based object. It is not the entity itself, but remember, a based object is pretty complex, so it is part of the attribute of a customer. So notice we go down here under customer, right mouse click, add a staging table, and again the display name. And for this, you really have to follow the lab guidebook. And again, this time I'm going to call this, I'm trying to follow the lab book here as much as I can, and best practices STG. This will be coming from the sales source system. So STG sales customer. Make sure that you select the correct source system we want for sales. Notice the physical name. That's actually the table that is stored and created in Oracle. And keep the table space the same. And now this is critical. What data from the landing will be brought over to the staging table? But remember that the staging table is an attribute of the based object. So these columns here at the bottom, those are the columns from the based object. So it turns out that the staging table is also a subset of the columns from the based object. So in the based object, I have defined full name, first name, middle, last name, generation, etc., etc. Can the sales deliver that? If you recall the Z invoice table, can it give me all that? Well, no, it can give me full name, and it can give me, think about it, it can give me what is full name as well as the customer class. How do I know this? Quickly go to Oracle. I already have it open. ZZ invoice. Look at the columns. Customer name. It doesn't say first name or last name, just the full name. you can look at the data. Okay, and then the other column that I added here was the other column that I added here is the class. So notice, let me point at columns. Here they go. All right. Notice there's some more columns that I did not add. Invoice have nothing to do with it. So let me go back to the hub and summarize it here. So customer class and full name. Now, customer class is not technically coming from the source. But I do want it to store it in the based object. Therefore, somewhere in my staging mappings, I'm going to have to derive the values for this column. Interesting. So hang on for the mappings when we get there. And that's pretty much it. Full name. All right, pretty much it. Now let's quickly create another staging table. So the based object has a staging table for sales data. We need one more. Since we have data that could also come in from the CRM, we need something called STG CRM customer, because those tables can give us customer data. And again, look at the physical name right here. And in this one here, what is it that it can give us? First of all, make sure that you get this from the CRM system, not sales. And in this case, we can select all the columns. Notice all these columns come from the base object. You can click one by one, or you can click on the right-hand icon and select all of them. Done. Are we done? Well, we're done with the staging tables for the customer. Now, we just got to quickly go and finish the staging tables for the address. How many staging tables do you think we're going to need for address? Well, I had done a little bit of work already. All right, think about this. How many tables do you think we're going to need for address? Well, the invoice or the sales system can give me bill to and ship to address. So I'm going to need 2 from the sales system. What about the CRM? That has its own separate table. Remember the address? So let's start with the CRM. Let's see how well I've done this already. So we need one called STG CRM address. Make sure that the system is CRM. Notice I could make a mistake. I can still correct myself because I have not created the mappings. Therefore, I can still toggle back and forth. If I had a mapping, I will not be able to change this. I would have to delete this and recreate it. So since I haven't created the mapping, I can still catch my error, and I make sure that it's CRM. So the name is STG CRM. I think that's what the book wants. And it is the CRM source system. And what about the columns now? The CRM can give me what? What can it possibly give me? All the data that I need. So that's pretty easy. Click, save. And now let's go add the interesting tables that are missing. I need an STG table, and I need one from the sales system. And this will be STG sales, and this will be the ship to address. So whatever you want to call this, I'm trying to follow the book recommendation. So ship to address. Notice if I make it too big, it's going to complain that the string is too long. So I'll just abbreviate it. STG sales ship to ADDR. There goes the physical table name. Be careful. This is not coming from CRM. This is coming from sales. In which columns do I want from them? All of them. So I'll select all of them. So the sales source system gives me an address line 1, city, state, zip, 10, and 5. Now, again, technically, the raw data may not have all these, but these columns reflect the based object. So if the based object wants these as a target, it's going to drive how I design this. Therefore, some of these will be derived through the mappings. Quickly say OK, and now I need one more. Add another staging table. This one will be called STG, and this one will be, again, sales, and this will be the bill to address table. There goes there goes a little typo. Let me correct it now. There goes the physical. Again, this is coming from the sales source system. And again, all the columns. Click OK. Don't worry if I made some mistakes because I'm going too fast. I'm going to correct them before we review these. And I think that's pretty much it. So let's do a quick review, not a final cleanup. I'll do that offline to make sure that I corrected any errors and then tell you about them. So we have two based objects. For address, we have three staging tables: CRM address, bill to address, and ship to from sales. Make sure that they really do represent the CRM's, the correct source system. We can still correct errors. Later on, it'll be more difficult. And then for customer, I should have two staging tables. There they go, CRM customer and sales. Now, one last thing. Under customer, notice there's a little box. I selected the based object customer. On the right-hand side, there's something called enable history. Well, let's enable it. In the lecture, you would have heard that this allows you to save audit information. We may want it, but just remember, anything that creates an auditing trail is good, but it also may increase overhead. But that's what the course writer wants, so I'll save that. And I'm going to go to address, also select the enable history, which is the audit trail, and save it. Later on, I may come and turn it off, or in production, I may turn it off. It all depends what your requirements. So we're pretty much done. We are done with the based objects, and we're done with the landing tables. Now, we're ready to go on. Let's look at our schema. Nothing has changed. The based objects were there already. We need to build the relationships, which will be done in another module. At this moment, I'm done with what I think is the correct based objects, landing tables, and staging tables. Now remember, we have something outstanding here. Since a customer can have more than one address, we need another intersection table. Let me build that offline, and when we come back in the next demo, I will review and make sure that we have a complete data model built up correctly. This concludes this demo, and thank you.